Talk Ava. Learn English with confidence.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking about two English words that many learners think are interchangeable, end and finish. They have similar meanings, but native speakers don't always use them the same way. Once you understand the difference, your English will sound much more natural.
That's true. I often hear learners say things like, the movie finished at 9, or let's end our dinner. Those sentences aren't always wrong, but native speakers usually choose one word over the other depending on what they're talking about.
That's exactly what we'll explore today. We won't memorize grammar rules. Instead, we'll learn through real conversations that sound like the English people use every day.
By the end of today's conversation, you'll know when end sounds more natural and when finish is the better choice.
Let's begin with finish.
Imagine you're eating lunch with a friend.
Your friend notices your plate is empty.
They ask, "Did you finish your lunch already?"
That's a very natural sentence.
Here, finish means you completed an activity.
You ate all your food.
Now, let's change the situation.
Imagine you're watching a movie together.
The credits appear on the screen.
Your friend says, "The movie has ended."
That's different.
Here, end talks about something coming to its natural conclusion.
That's the biggest difference.
Finish often means completing an action or task.
End often describes when an event, period of time, or situation comes to a close.
Let's compare them.
I finished my homework.
The meeting ended at 3 o'clock.
Same idea of completion.
Different focus.
Here's another everyday example.
Imagine you're cleaning your room.
Your mother asks, "Have you finished cleaning?"
That's very natural.
A few hours later, your family watches a football match.
When the final whistle blows, someone says, "The game has ended."
That's another natural sentence.
One is a task.
The other is an event.
Here's another situation.
You're studying at the library.
Your friend asks, "Have you finished reading that book?"
You smile and say, "Yes, I finished it yesterday."
A little later, the library announces it's closing.
Your friend says, "Our study session has ended."
Same afternoon.
Two different words.
Once you begin connecting finish with completing tasks or activities,
And end with events, periods of time, or situations coming to a close.
choosing the right word becomes much easier.
Before we continue, we have a question for everyone listening today.
Question for you. Which sentence sounds more natural to you? I finished my homework, or the meeting ended at 5. Can you write your own sentence using either finish or end in the comments? We'd love to read your examples.
Your examples always help other learners because everyone thinks of different everyday situations, and that's one of the best ways to build natural English.
If today's conversation is helping you speak more naturally, don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and share it with another English learner.
Thanks for joining us today.
Let's look at a few everyday situations where native speakers naturally choose between end and finish. Once you hear enough examples, you'll begin noticing that the choice depends on what you're talking about.
That's true because native speakers usually ask themselves one simple question. Are they talking about completing a task, or are they talking about something coming to a close?
Imagine you're working from home.
You've been writing a report all morning.
Your manager sends you a message.
Have you finished the report yet?
That's a very natural question. The report is a task. A little later, you reply.
Yes, I finished it a few minutes ago.
That's exactly how native speakers speak.
Here's another situation.
You're attending a company meeting.
Everyone is discussing next month's plans.
After an hour, the manager stands up.
Someone asks, "Has the meeting ended?"
Another coworker replies, "Yes, it ended just now."
That's another natural conversation,
The meeting is an event.
not a task you personally complete.
Here's another example.
You're eating dinner with your family.
Your younger brother is still eating.
Your mother asks, "Have you finished your dinner?"
He replies, "Almost."
A little later, everyone leaves the table.
Your father says, "Dinner has ended. Let's watch a movie."
That's another conversation you'll hear at home.
One sentence focuses on eating.
The other focuses on the family meal as an event.
Here's something learners sometimes ask.
What's that?
They ask if they can say, The concert finished at 10.
Native speakers sometimes do say that.
That's true.
But you'll probably hear ended more often because a concert is an event.
Both can be correct in many situations.
End simply sounds a little more natural when talking about events.
Let's imagine another conversation.
You're studying at a coffee shop.
Your friend asks, "Have you finished reading that chapter?"
You answer, "Yes, I finished it during lunch."
Later, you both leave the coffee shop.
Your friend says, "Our study session ended earlier than I expected."
That's another natural example.
Here's another everyday situation.
You're watching a television series with your family.
One episode finishes.
Your sister says, "That episode ended with a big surprise."
Then your brother asks, "Have you finished the whole series?"
Those two sentences sound completely natural.
One talks about the episode.
The other talks about your progress.
Let's think about school.
A teacher says, "Please finish your worksheet before the bell rings."
A few minutes later, the bell rings.
Another student says, "The lesson has ended."
That's exactly how native speakers use these words.
Here's another conversation.
Two friends are training at the gym.
One asks, "Have you finished your workout?"
The other replies, "Almost. I have one exercise left."
20 minutes later, they're walking to the parking lot.
One friend says, "Today's workout ended on a good note."
That's another natural exchange.
Here's a useful learning tip.
I think this one helps a lot.
If you're talking about homework, work, food, reading, cleaning, or any activity you complete, think finish.
If you're talking about a meeting, a game, a concert, a movie, a lesson, or an event, think end.
That simple habit makes choosing the correct word much easier.
And after enough listening practice, you'll naturally choose finish or end without stopping to think about grammar. There's another reason end and finish can be confusing. Sometimes both words can describe the same situation, but native speakers naturally prefer one depending on what they're talking about.
That's a good point. The meaning is often very similar, but the focus is different. Once you notice that focus, the choice becomes much easier.
Imagine you're attending an online training course.
The instructor gives everyone a short activity.
After a few minutes, the instructor asks, "Has everyone finished the exercise?"
That's a very natural question.
The exercise is a task.
Everyone is expected to complete it.
A few minutes later, the instructor says, "Our session will end in 5 minutes."
That's another natural sentence.
The training session is an event.
Not something one person completes.
Here's another situation.
You're helping your younger sister with her homework.
She spends about half an hour solving math problems.
You ask, "Have you finished your homework?"
She smiles and says, "Yes, I finished the last question."
Later that evening, your parents ask how school went.
She replies, "Our last class ended earlier today."
That's another conversation you'll hear naturally.
Here's something learners sometimes notice.
Go ahead.
Native speakers often say, "The movie ended."
That's probably the most common choice.
You might also hear, "The movie finished."
That's possible too.
But ended usually sounds more natural because a movie is an event with a beginning and an ending.
The same idea applies to concerts, meetings, and games.
Let's imagine another conversation.
You're reading a novel during your vacation.
Your friend asks, "Have you finished the book yet?"
You reply, "Yes, I finished it yesterday."
Then your friend asks another question.
How did the story end?
That's another very common sentence.
Notice the difference. You finish reading the book.
The story ends in a certain way.
Here's another everyday situation.
You're watching a football match with friends.
One friend leaves the room to answer a phone call.
When they come back, they ask, "Has the match ended?" Another friend says, "Not yet."
After the final whistle, someone says, "What a great way to end the game."
That's another natural use of end.
Here's another example.
You're cleaning the house on Saturday morning.
Your partner asks, "Have you finished cleaning the kitchen?"
You answer, "Almost. I just need to wipe the table."
A little later, both of you sit down to relax.
Your partner says, "Our cleaning day has finally ended."
That's exactly how native speakers speak.
One sentence is about completing the cleaning.
The other is about the whole activity coming to a close.
Here's something useful to remember.
I think this helps a lot.
Finish often answers the question, did you complete it?
Did you finish your meal?
Did you finish your project?
Did you finish your homework?
End answers a different question.
When did it stop?
When did the meeting end?
When did the concert end?
When did the holiday end?
Those sound completely natural.
Here's one final conversation.
Two friends are talking after attending a wedding.
One asks, what time did the celebration end?
The other replies, around 11.
Then they ask another question.
Did you finish all the food they served?
The friend laughs and says, not even close.
That's another realistic conversation where both words appeared naturally because each one has a different purpose.
Once you begin thinking about completing an action versus something coming to a close, choosing between finish and end becomes much easier.
And after enough real conversations, you'll stop translating these words and start using them the way native speakers do.
Let's spend some time on the expressions and situations where native speakers naturally use end and finish. These are the kinds of conversations you'll hear at home, at work, at school, and in everyday life.
I like this part because you'll notice that native speakers don't stop to think about grammar. They simply think about whether they're completing something or talking about an event coming to a close.
Imagine you're preparing dinner with your family.
Everyone is helping in the kitchen.
Your father asks, have you finished cutting the vegetables?
That's a very natural question.
Cutting the vegetables is a task.
A little later, everyone sits down to eat.
After dinner, your mother says, what a nice way to end the day.
That's another natural sentence.
The day is a period of time.
Not a task that someone completes.
Here's another situation.
You're working on a presentation with your coworker.
Your coworker asks, have you finished the last slide?
You reply, yes, I finished it this morning.
A little later, the presentation is over.
One coworker says, the presentation ended earlier than expected.
That's another conversation you'll hear often in the workplace.
One sentence is about your work.
The other is about the event.
Here's another everyday example.
You're studying at home for an exam.
Your brother walks into your room.
He asks, have you finished studying?
You answer, not yet. I still have one chapter left.
Later that evening, you close your books.
Your brother smiles and says, your long study session has finally ended.
That's another natural conversation.
Here's something interesting.
Go ahead.
Native speakers often use finish when talking about food.
That's true.
You'll hear questions like, did you finish your coffee?
Or, have you finished your sandwich?
Or, finish your vegetables before dessert.
Those expressions are very common.
On the other hand, end often appears when talking about time.
Such as, the holiday ended yesterday.
The meeting ended at 4.
The school year ends in June.
Those sound very natural.
Let's imagine another conversation.
Two friends are watching a television series.
One asks, have you finished the new season?
The other replies, yes, I watched the last episode last night.
Then the first friend asks another question.
How did the final episode end?
That's another pattern you'll hear very often.
You finish watching.
The episode ends in a certain way.
Here's another situation.
You're attending a cooking class.
The instructor says, please finish decorating your cakes.
Everyone works quietly for a few more minutes.
Then the instructor smiles and says, today's class has ended.
That's exactly how native speakers speak.
Here's another example.
You're helping organize a community event.
One volunteer asks, have you finished putting up the signs?
You reply, yes, everything is ready.
A few hours later, after everyone leaves, another volunteer says, the event ended successfully.
That's another conversation you'll hear naturally.
Here's something learners sometimes don't notice.
What's that?
Native speakers often use finish for something they control.
Like finishing homework,
Finishing a report.
finishing a meal.
But they often use end for something that simply reaches its conclusion.
a concert,
a vacation,
a conversation.
or a football match.
Here's one final situation.
Two friends are leaving a birthday party.
One asks, "Did you finish your cake?"
The other laughs and says, "Yes, every bite."
As they walk to the parking lot, one friend says, "That party ended much later than I expected."
That's another perfect example of how naturally these two words work together.
The more you connect finish with completing tasks or activities,
And end with events, periods of time, or situations coming to a close.
the easier these two words become in everyday English. Let's look at a few situations where native speakers naturally choose between end and finish without stopping to think about grammar.
These are the kinds of conversations you'll hear almost every day.
That's one of the best ways to learn, because once you recognize the pattern, you'll begin choosing the right word automatically.
Imagine you're working from a coffee shop.
You're trying to complete an important project before the afternoon.
Your coworker sends you a message. Have you finished the presentation?
You reply, "I've almost finished it. I just need to check a few details."
That's a very natural conversation.
The presentation is something you're creating.
You're completing the task.
A little later, the online meeting begins.
Everyone discusses the project for about an hour.
When the discussion is over, someone says, "The meeting ended right on time."
That's another natural sentence.
The meeting is an event, not a task you personally complete.
Here's another situation.
You're spending Saturday cleaning your apartment.
Your roommate walks into the living room.
They ask, "Have you finished vacuuming?"
You smile and say, "Yes, I finished a few minutes ago." Later that evening, both of you relax on the sofa.
Your roommate says, "It's nice that our busy day has finally ended."
That's exactly how native speakers speak.
One sentence talks about completing the cleaning.
The other talks about the whole day coming to a close.
Let's imagine another example.
You're attending an evening language class.
The teacher gives everyone a writing activity.
After several minutes, the teacher asks, "Has everyone finished writing?"
Most students raise their hands.
A few minutes later, the teacher says, "Class ends in 10 minutes."
That's another conversation you'll hear in classrooms.
Here's something learners sometimes don't notice.
Go ahead.
Native speakers often use finish with hobbies and personal goals.
That's true.
You might hear, "I finally finished building my bookshelf,"
Or, "She finished learning the song."
or "They finished painting the living room."
Those are all activities someone completes.
But when talking about time or events, end sounds more natural.
For example, summer ended last week.
The festival ended on Sunday.
The discussion ended peacefully.
Those are common expressions.
Here's another everyday situation.
You're watching a cooking competition on television.
The host tells the contestants, "Finish your dishes, you have 1 minute left."
Time runs out.
The host announces, "The competition has ended."
That's another perfect example.
The contestants finish their cooking.
The competition ends.
Let's think about another conversation.
You're traveling with friends.
One friend asks, "Have you finished packing?"
Another replies, "Yes, my suitcase is ready."
A week later, everyone returns home.
One friend says, "Our vacation ended too quickly."
That's a sentence you'll hear very often after a holiday.
Here's another example.
You're reading a mystery novel.
Your friend asks, "Have you finished the book?"
You answer, "Yes, I finished it yesterday evening."
Then your friend asks, "Did the story end the way you expected?"
That's another common pattern.
You finish reading.
The story ends in a certain way.
Here's a useful learning tip.
I think this one makes remembering much easier.
If you're talking about something you can work on, eat, read, write, build, clean, or complete, think finish.
If you're talking about something that has a beginning and a natural conclusion, such as a meeting, a concert, a holiday, or a conversation, think end.
That simple question will help you choose the right word much more confidently.
And after enough listening practice, you won't need to think about grammar rules anymore.
You'll naturally choose finish for completed activities and end for events or periods of time that come to a close.
Let's bring everything together with a few longer conversations. These examples sound very close to the way native speakers actually speak, and you'll notice that end and finish appear naturally depending on what the speaker wants to describe.
That's one of the best ways to learn because you're hearing these words in real situations instead of memorizing a grammar rule.
Imagine two friends are spending the afternoon studying together at the library.
One friend looks at the clock and says, "Have you finished your history assignment?"
The other replies, Almost. I only have one question left.
About 20 minutes later, they close their notebooks.
One friend smiles and says, I finally finished everything.
As they walk outside, the library announces that it's closing.
One friend says, our study session ended at the perfect time.
That's a conversation you'll hear naturally.
One sentence talks about completing work.
The other talks about an event coming to a close.
Here's another situation.
Two coworkers are talking after a busy morning.
One asks, have you finished replying to all your emails?
The other laughs and says, yes, I finally finished a few minutes ago.
They both head toward the meeting room. After the discussion, one coworker says, that meeting ended much sooner than I expected.
That's another realistic office conversation. Here's another example.
A family is preparing for a weekend barbecue. One parent asks, have you finished setting the table?
Their son replies, yes, everything is ready.
Several hours later, after everyone has gone home, one family member says, the barbecue ended on a really nice note.
That's exactly how native speakers describe those situations.
Here's something interesting. Go ahead.
Native speakers often use finish when they're talking about personal progress.
That's true.
Someone might say, I finished learning how to drive.
Or, she finished decorating her apartment.
Or, we finally finished planting the flowers.
Those all describe something a person completed.
On the other hand, you'll often hear end with things that happen over a period of time.
Such as, the conference ended yesterday.
The holiday ended too quickly.
The conversation ended with everyone laughing.
Those sound completely natural. Let's imagine another conversation.
Two friends are watching a cooking show. One asks, have you finished watching this season?
The other replies, not yet, I have 2 episodes left.
They continue watching. When the final episode is over, one friend says, I didn't expect the series to end like that.
That's another pattern native speakers use all the time.
You finish watching the series ends with a particular story.
Here's another everyday situation.
You're helping your neighbor paint a fence. Your neighbor asks, have you finished this side? You answer, yes, I'll start the other side now. A few hours later, both of you clean up the brushes. Your neighbor says, I'm glad this project has finally ended.
That's another natural conversation. Here's another example.
Two friends are returning from a road trip. One says, I can't believe our vacation ended so quickly. The other replies, I know, it feels like we just arrived. A few moments later, one friend asks another question.
Have you finished unpacking?
The other laughs and says, not yet. My suitcase is still by the door.
That's another conversation you'll hear after a holiday. Here's one final situation.
A teacher is talking to the class before the bell rings. The teacher says, please finish the last question. Everyone writes for another minute. The bell rings. The teacher smiles and says, class has ended. Have a great afternoon.
Those 2 sentences show the difference perfectly.
Once you begin thinking about completing a task or an activity versus something reaching its natural conclusion, choosing between finish and end becomes much easier.
And after enough real conversations, you'll naturally choose the word that fits the situation without stopping to think about grammar.
We've reached the final part of today's conversation, so let's review everything with one simple idea. If you remember this idea, you'll know when to use end and when to use finish in everyday English.
That's a great goal because these 2 words appear in conversations every day. You'll hear them at home, at work, at school, and whenever people talk about completing something or talking about something coming to a close.
Let's start with the first question you should ask yourself.
Are you talking about completing a task or an activity?
If the answer is yes, finish is usually the correct word.
Think about homework,
A report,
a meal,
a book.
a workout.
Those are all things that someone completes.
Now ask yourself another question.
Are you talking about an event, a period of time, or a situation coming to a close?
If that's your focus, end is usually the better choice.
Let's practice with a few final situations.
Imagine you're having lunch with a coworker.
Your coworker asks, "Have you finished your sandwich?" You reply, "Yes, I finished it a few minutes ago." After lunch, both of you return to work. At the end of the day, your coworker says, "The workday ended much faster than I expected."
That's a conversation you'll hear very often. Here's another example.
You're attending a weekend photography workshop. The instructor gives everyone one final project. They ask, "Has everyone finished editing their photos?" A few students raise their hands. After everyone shares their work, the instructor says, "Our workshop has officially ended."
That's another natural conversation.
Let's imagine another situation. You're traveling with friends. After checking into the hotel, one friend asks, "Have you finished unpacking?" You answer, "Yes, everything is in the closet now." A few days later, everyone heads to the airport. One friend says, "I can't believe our trip has already ended."
That's a sentence you'll hear after almost every vacation.
Here's another everyday example. You're reading a mystery novel. Your friend asks, "Have you finished the book?" You reply, "Yes, I couldn't stop reading." Then your friend smiles and asks, "How did it end?" Notice how both words appear naturally. You finish reading, the story ends in a certain way. Here's one more situation. You're watching a football match with your family. During halftime, your brother goes to make popcorn. When he comes back, he asks, "Has the game ended?" You laugh and say, "No, but I already finished my popcorn." That's another simple conversation where both words fit perfectly.
Here's something that helps many learners remember the difference.
I think this memory trick is easy to remember. Imagine you're holding a checklist. Every task with a check mark can usually use finish.
Finish your homework.
Finish your coffee.
Finish your project.
Now imagine you're looking at a calendar.
A holiday ends.
A meeting ends.
A concert ends.
A season ends. That simple picture makes the difference much easier to remember. Don't worry if you sometimes hear native speakers use finish and end in similar situations. There are times when both are possible.
That's true. The important thing is to notice what the speaker is focusing on. If it's a task that someone completes, finish usually sounds more natural. If it's an event or a period of time reaching its conclusion, end is often the better choice.
The more you listen to real conversations, the more naturally you'll begin making that choice yourself. Before long, you won't stop to think about which word to use because the situation will guide you automatically. Thanks for spending your time with us today. We hope this conversation has made the difference between end and finish much clearer.
Keep improving with our English podcast for learning, easy English learning, English active verbs for daily life, basic grammar rules, and we'll see you in the next conversation.